Hey everyone, it's Steve from the garden. Well, I got myself a tall metal raised bed. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I'm going to fill this bed for free. The bed I got is a Vigo bed, and it's 3.5 feet wide by 7 feet long. Now that's not the standard size I got. I did buy like an extension kit to extend it out another 2 feet to get that 7-foot length. So the two main principles I'm going to use to fill this are a combination of Hugelkultur and composting. Now some of you that watch the channel regularly, you might see that there's something missing in the background, and that is I had a dead tree that was standing there next to the apple, and about 2 weeks ago I went and finally pushed that thing over because I knew I was going to fill this bed, and that's where the Hugelkultur comes from. Now you can see on the bottom I got the logs and all that from that tree, and some of this material is really, pretty rotten. So that'll break down nicely. I was also throwing in the garden waste, like some leaves I cut out, eggshells from the kitchen, and mixing that all in, along with a bunch of dead weeds I had picked out. Getting them down toward the bottom. They shouldn't cause a problem, and once this thing gets heated up, any weed seeds that might be in there should get killed. It's been a few weeks since I first started filling up this bed. So I got the wood in there, and I've been putting garden waste in, like the cuttings from the onions and garlic through the zucchini plant, which wasn't producing anymore. Now I'm going to add the next thing on here, and that's going to add a lot of nitrogen and fill in all the little cracks and hopefully get it level down to about, say, around here. The next thing I'm going to add is horse manure. Now anybody that watches my channel on a regular basis know that I have basically an endless supply of horse manure available from a local stable. So I can just take this and get it to kind of fall into place around all the little gaps and stuff. The horse manure will not only add nitrogen, but because the stable uses a lot of pine shavings, it adds a lot of carbon in here too, and helps create a very friable soil once it's done. Those pine shavings, because they're so fine, they can often fill in all the little gaps and stuff that will end up inside between the wood and any of the garden waste that gets in here. There we go. That's the full load I had for today. So we'll see how high the level gets. Now this material will end up breaking down and sinking fairly quickly. So this will not be the only load of horse manure I'm going to have to put in here. Over the coming weeks I'm going to have to put some more in because it's all going to sink. Time has come to take apart my old strawberry bed. Now this is the oldest bed I have in the garden. And you can see over here it's starting to come apart. And if you notice in the middle over here, it's bulging out in each direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and take off the end and take off the pole, or the parts that hold the pole in place for the bird netting. Take that down and start scooping out the soil from this section, and then we'll put it into that tall raised bed. You can see I've been continuing to fill up this bed with material, like this stuff that's here on the top right now. This all was swept out of the pathway in that area where the strawberry bed sits. I get vegetation growing through the fence, I cut it down, and once it dries out, I have to do something with it. So I threw it here in this bed and then wetted it down because it was really dry. So let's go ahead and move that soil that's in the cart into this layer, and that'll help weigh it down. So I could actually fill this bed up a lot more with other loose materials, but I do want to get a layer of soil in here just so that it can combine with all this dry material and get it breaking down, and that'll help create a nice organic rich soil for growing the new strawberries I'm going to be getting. Another component of this material I swept up today from the strawberry bed area is, I got pine trees off to the north on my neighbor's yard, and it drops a lot of pine needles in there. So there's a lot of pine needles mixed in with all this other dried vegetation. Now the pine needles do break down fairly quickly, and I'm not worried about it adding any acidity to the bed. They're by the time they get in this bed here, they're all dried out. They're not going to affect the pH at all. But since they do break down really nicely, they will eventually create a very nice organic soil all on their own. All the soil for this load is in the bed now, and I wetted it down. Now the next step will be to get another load of horse manure, put that in here, and I'll top it off with some more of the soil from that strawberry bed. This morning I went to the stable to pick up some more horse manure, and I filled up the bed to where I want it to be. And you can see I got some food scraps in here, and that's because I'm going to add 2 generous handfuls of worms from my worm bin into this pile so that they can start breaking all this material down. And we got some food scraps here that they can get started on. So I got banana, some zucchini, orange peels, broccoli, some more zucchini, some broccoli leaves, and some more broccoli and orange peels. So to this, I'm going to add some powdered azomite. That's add minerals to all this material. Make sure I give a generous helping to the worms because I use it as grit. And the grit just helps them digest the food. Now I will add more azomite to the very top when I get everything put in. And we'll distribute that around a little bit since I ran short of the powder somewhat. I'm also going to add some Nature Safe A35 and balanced organic fertilizer. I don't need a lot in here. I just want a little something in here to provide some nutrition as the plant roots get down into this zone. With that done, I will go ahead and start putting more soil on here from my strawberry bed. I'm going to cover up the worms first just so that they're protected, and I can just start shoveling it in. So I got all that soil put in and I got it wetted down. Next up is a combination of the Johnson Sioux compost I made last year and combined with a little bit of leaf mold in this. I got all the Johnson Sioux compost put on top and it's watered in. Now I'm going to use my finished compost, which was done with the hot composting method, to get the top layer put on. And this would be the planting medium. Now all the compost and all the materials I used on this bed were free. The composts were made with a combination of horse manure, which I get for free, leaves, grass clippings, and whatever food scraps I got in there. With all the compost in place, I'm going to sprinkle some more azomite onto the top. We're going to get some rain today, hopefully, and I'll help water this all in. It's been several days since I finished filling up this bed, so I thought we'd just do a quick check-in to see how it looks. So just in like the 4 days or so since I finished filling this up, you can see the soil level has dropped a little bit, and that's to be expected as all those materials I put in there are starting to break down, especially with the horse manure generating some heat and then adding some nitrogen. And I have a thermometer in here, so let's take a look at this real quick. So the thermometer is showing just under 140 degrees. So it is acting like a big compost bin at the moment, which again is exactly what I want at this stage. With the bed filled up, it's ready for planting. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment down below and I'll do my best to answer them. Otherwise, until next time, I hope you enjoyed, got something out of this, and we'll see you on the next one. Special note to Jason and Colleen at Clive's Conundrum Garden. I know you're not supposed to have a compost bin, but one of these tall raised metal beds would make a great compost bin in disguise.